Thank you for joining this virtual edition of BMO IFFSA Toronto 2020. And I'm here with the team of Song of the Scorpions, the director, writer Anup Singh, producer Saskia, and the evergreen Golshifteh Farahani. She's never aged. Yeah, she's a world citizen. So let me start. I revisited the film again. I revisited the Song of the Scorpions again today, and I remember how the film affected me so much. And I also remember that before you started your shooting, Golshifteh was here in Bombay, and she played Hang in a house to all our guests, and we all I was revisiting that video too. And the most I realized that the film is poetry. It's such poetry, and you see a lot of movies. And first thing that I again recalled, which I remember when I saw the film first time on the big screen, was the camera was moving constantly. There's a constant fluidity to it. There's a constant fluidity to it, which is what enhances the poetry of it, right? Which is become very rare in today's cinema when we see from the world over. And let me start from, that's just a surprise. I just had to say it. But Anup, knowing you have not grown up in India. You did not grow up in India. And taking me back to the days when I was a student and I would read Journal of Arts and Ideas, and there was these conversations about Tarkovsky, and where it was Manikal and Kumar Shahani and Madan Gopal Singh and Rajat Kapoor, and Rajat I knew from theatre. The only name that would feature in there was Anup Singh, who I did not know. From those days, I'm saying you making a film like Song of Scorpions when did you ever discover your India that you make films out, whether it's Kissa or Song of the Scorpions? Where does this India come from within you?
Wow, that's quite a question, Anurag. Kissa, of course, comes from the family, so there is a reason behind that. The Song of Scorpions, it has to do with growing up in Bombay, let's say from the age of 12, 13, till the age of around 24, before I left India again. And I've seen things change, as you have, as all of us have. And there has come a time when suddenly we feel that the India that we knew is not the India that we know today.
Yeah.
So in many ways, I wanted to revisit this whole question of why are we being told what it is to be an Indian today?
Yeah.
Why are we being told that this is the only way you can be an Indian?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons then to return was this really horrific thing that has seared, I think, and will remain a kind of scar on the body of our nation, is the rape of this young woman in Delhi.
Yeah.
The kind of burning that it carried, I think we have not seen that kind of national sense of loss of something that we believed in completely, and that is that we are not this cruel, that we are not this violent, And I wanted then to enter into this whole question of violence, because we are seeing a time where we see violence of all kinds all around us.
There's kind of a repression that India has, which has surfaced in today's day and age so much, because of how everything is going towards in one direction. So right has become so right that the center has started to look like left.
Yes.
That's the India we're living in. And the repression and the misogyny has surfaced with an elan right now. It's not even like apologetic anymore.
Not
right? So what your film says is almost like a foreboding. There's a sense of foreboding in your film when it begins, right in the beginning, when it begins, like, when she starts to walk out and to that man lying in the bed, and the way everybody's reacting to it. And you see Irfan standing there, and he's kind of leaning over, wanting to, I don't know, see what she's doing or wanting to hear the song that she's singing. You know, the sense of foreboding that it starts to create. It immediately starts to create. And it's almost like knowing that where India is heading.
Yeah.
When you made this film to where we are now,
Yeah.
what is very unique to the world of Song of Scorpions is now there in a larger proportion within 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
much larger proportion.
Yes. Yeah. Also, the thing is, Anurag, if we just look at the character of Irfan for a moment, then you see that there is a surface that he plays.
Yeah.
And behind the surface is a totally different reality, a totally different spirit.
Yeah.
And this kind of mask of the self is again something that I wanted to deal with. With the character that I am, eternally grateful that Golshifteh agreed to play, the character of Nuran. There is something else that I wanted to carry, and that is, we chose to shoot the film in the desert in Jaisalmer. And as you know, this desert stretches to Persia.
Yeah.
It stretches to Turkey. It stretches to Mongolia. It stretches, to all those parts of the world that we are slowly trying to deny today.
Yeah.
And much of our culture, much of our civilization, has benefited so much from all these cultures. Ours have always been these deserts, these waters, these rivers that have allowed journeys. And I wanted to celebrate that journey in the character of Golshifteh.
No, that's fair. I want to, that's a question that I had, which I will come to Golshifteh on that, because also, since Irfan is not amongst us there, and I was seeing the film and it was literally very emotional right in the beginning when you see him. You almost feel like wanting to pick the phone and call him and say, like, we never talked about this performance of yours. And he's in there and it's sad. So I wanted to come to Golshifteh. This is at what stage of the film did Golshifteh come in? And Golshifteh, you have this incredible relationship with India. You have this incredible relationship with India. I want to know, like, what drew you to the film? And how similar is that world of nomads, if I may call them, from the nomads of Iran that you've grown up with? Like from what he's talking about, how this desert extends to Persia. Because in the sense, if I don't know the language and somebody tells me it's not India, this could be Persia. This could be very many places across the continent of Asia. So what drew you to the film? At what stage did you read the script?
Well, I think I remember the first thing that drew me to this movie was Anup and Irfan, that I met them in Abu Dhabi Film Festival, and they were showing Tisa, and we were showing Patient Stone. And at one of the festival nights, we were just joking, and Anup and Atik, they said, okay, we're gonna swap actresses. Let's make a movie and swap actresses. And we said, okay. And it was just one of those nights in the festival.
Wow.
And of course, it was the first time I was meeting Irfan, and it was very Irfan's eyes. I don't think anyone who met him would ever forget his eyes. It was like something that you cannot just pass by. It will catch you somehow. Like the light of his eyes, and I was like a butterfly, like a moth. And that passed, and then finally, after some time, not long, Anup contacted me, and I thought, wow, that festival night was a real night, and we are gonna do this. And for me, the choices of the movies I do, they're very intuitive. Even not reading the script, I knew I'm gonna be in this movie. I just read the script to know what's the story, but I knew that I'm gonna be in it. And then, of course, the story of Nuran, her voice, because this voice, it's something that we talk a lot about, the voice these days, and the breath, the voice. Now everybody talks about I can't breathe, and Nuran, she loses her breath. And I think women throughout history, they have lost their breath, they have lost their voice, and they have to somehow search, dig, heal, to somehow find it. And Nuran is the perfect metaphor coming to life, really. That finally she finds the voice that it's not only a voice, it's a healing voice, it's a melody, it's a voice that comes like a lotus that has the roots in dirt, in swamps, in the dirtiest water, and then finally when it comes out, it becomes the lotus flower, which is holy somehow. And this voice, this lotus flower, heals, has the power to heal. And for me also with my journey was very symbolic, because I never know sometimes if I am choosing the movies I'm acting in or the movies are choosing me. And I'm just a little puppet, that I'm just walking on a path that is already very much clear for me. And also in my life, I had days like Nuran behind those doors, with no food, alone, crying, with some angels around, like Kritika, that she was also there. There's always some angels around that somehow take you out, and they are with you, and they walk by your side until you reach that oasis of water and that song. We found that song together, and I think we, not only women, but we men and women, we with Irfan, we all find that melody, we all find that song that can heal. Wow, I went on a lecture for myself.
That's very good, but it's like also you have your whole life there has a kind of a parallel to it. And you have always uprooting yourself, starting again. You're always learning new language. You're imbibing a new culture. Your life has always been on a go. You have been a nomad in a way, like in the sense. So I want to come to the question of like, how was it? Because you have come to India so many times, but when you came to shoot and work for the first time and learning the language. Learning a language is almost like, I remember you were talking to me about how when you moved to France and how the director of Persepolis and Marianne Satrapi, she taught you French. She was a French teacher, right? In initial days. And how like, you again came and you learned Hindi, and it is so convincing. You've been imbibing the language, you lip syncing the songs.
Well, but the difference is Hindi is much easier than French. Like for me, Hindi is it's Sanskrit, and Persian
Close
is
to
also
Persian,
Sanskrit based, so it's much easier. And again, I think for me, language was never something that would make me afraid of not doing or doing. It wasn't like, even if they would tell me it's in Russian or Chinese, I wouldn't be afraid, because I would say yes, it's doable, because we're talking about love, we're talking about universal human reactions and human psychology. So it doesn't matter what language is, it's the language of the heart, and the rest of it is technique and hard work to somehow make it happen. But at the same time, it's a lot of pressure, because if you really want to try to make it right, you're basically talking phonetically. And of course you have native people sometimes looking at you like, oh my God, that really didn't sound right. And it didn't sound right. So you have to really get it right. And also this nomadic thing that you talk about, I think it's, again, some people on this planet, I believe that they are eternally exiled, like we are exiled from Garden of Eden. We are exiled no matter what. We are social exiled. We are people that we don't have a home in the sense of home, really, because we find our home in our heart. We finally have to build our home within, because there is no outer home out there. Because wherever we go, we are strangers, we are foreigners, even in our own country. I think if one day I go back to Iran, I will feel very much of a stranger. Same as I'm never French, I'm never Indian. I am never nothing. At the same time, I'm everything. Wherever I go, I feel everyone, they are my native people. They are my, I go to Amazon, I go to everywhere, to Japan. I feel like, wow, I know these people. I know these people because I can connect to them through my heart, but not the language. And even the culture, I love their culture, I can learn. But also the question of Nuran is that she loses her home, she loses her grandmother. But I think in most mystic cultures, the only chance for growth is the separation. Even the birth of a child is through separating the cord from the mother. If we don't separate, we don't have the chance to be reborn. So we, the nomads of the world and the homeless people of the world, we got the chance to somehow find home. Same as Nuran, that the home, she says, that was snatched away from me, but she finds her voice, she finds her home within. And me too, my Golshifteh also. I found my home in you, in Anurag, in Anup, in Saskia. We are all nomads. I'm sure none of you is where you are born somehow. We are all somehow just with a little suitcase and walking and moving, and we somehow find each other.
Yeah. So I'll Saskia, tell me the whole journey of the film, in the sense, when did Anup talk to you about the film? And how was it, like, how long did it take to put this film together? Because, you know, in India, everybody is so obsessed with films. I think of an idea. Before I have an idea or a script, I have the money to make it. So
yeah, you're
because
lucky.
I have the money, yeah. So because I have the money, I have no other option but to go and make the film. I'm saying, how is it like when you put a film together, sitting there, your Indian filmmaker who lives in Switzerland or France, he's still figuring out, with an actress from there, Irfan, who's always traveling, putting it all together. How long does it take, and how hard it was?
Well, I wish I had the money before and then would make the films after. That would be really
That's
nice.
only possible in India. So.
In India, yeah, I love it. I've been living and working in Switzerland in the film industry for some time, but I never even knew that Anup Singh existed, let alone the fact that he lived in Geneva. And it was through actually his German producer that I met through Eurimage, and introduced me because I was maybe going to become involved in Kisa. But that didn't happen, and that was kind of a last-minute thing, and that didn't happen. But then we had a very good connection, and this was around maybe 2012, and it was in the summer of 2013, so 7 years ago, that Anup, that we met, and he talked to me about the Song of Scorpions, and I just immediately fell in love with the story, with the message, with the, you know, even the locations and the music and the melody and the poetry of the film. And I think by then there was barely a treatment, or it was really just sort of an idea and a song that Anup had in his heart and in his mind. And then we started, I think we got the first yes for so the way we constructed the financing for this film, it was with some mostly Swiss government money and a little bit of French. So it's a Swiss-French co-production, so it's an official government-backed film. And then we have some private investors that came as well. And the first yes that we got was in September 2014. So it just takes time in Europe. And I think that because we're in an art house sort of film type industry, it's much like relative to India, it's just a bit slow. And we were in the Venice co-production market. We were also in the Goa co-production market, and got some interest, and then we were ready to go in at the end of 2015.
Oh, I still wish, because a lot of people in India haven't seen the film.
I know.
I really am. I've been talking to people to like get this film out here so much.
Well, there is some good news that we can share, is that where it looks like there'll be a release in India finally, in a proper in a proper way, because it'll be in theaters as well, because it's the
Oh,
kind
wow.
of film, because you've seen it on the big screen and you've seen it on a small screen, so you see the
Yeah,
difference.
it's a
and
beautiful
really,
film, and I think people would want to watch Irfan like once again because there's just so much love for him, and people would love to see him one last time on
yes,
screen.
no
And I
doubt.
think
Yeah.
it has to come out on screen, and people get introduced to Golshifteh from India. Like other than they only know her from Hollywood films and from pirate films, but
Yeah.
not from any Indian film and not from any Indian.
Yeah, so we hope
I-
that's what we're working on at the moment. And you see, this started 7 years ago, and I'm still working on this film. It's it keeps us busy.
Yeah. So I wrote down a lot of things in the sense, like, there are these moments in the movie. There's this incredible thing that I found with Golshifteh's performance in the film. And, like you see the beginning of the movie, your eyes are very playful in the sense when you see Irfan kind of following her around and is kind of flirting with her before the jeep comes in and they beat him up and all that. And after she gets violated, the eyes are kind of dead and sometimes angry. And then what happens? There's this moment where, like, literally, again, this sense of foreboding that comes in when she's sitting in the desert and seeing Nuran, and she's kind of looking. And next sequence, she's sitting with her husband, and she says that how she's just flesh and bone, and she can't find Nuran. And after that, when she finds the truth, her eyes are so cold in that sequence of seduction in the desert. And she looks at him. Her eyes are so cold that after that, whatever she does, I don't believe her. I'm saying this transition just in the eye, and Anup is just knows that is happening with you in your character, and he does not let us go away from your eyes. I'm saying that was thought through, that was organic. How was that? Because I've seen the film twice now, and it's so incredibly done. It's so beautifully done, and it's so clear and consistent. It's just those three different stages of a woman that you see in Nuran, and it's so beautifully observed. Can you talk about the process that you were, Anup and Golshifteh, that whole give and take between the director and actress, that process of, because literally at that time you don't hear anything, I'm just watching your eyes.
Sure.
I think
Well-
Anup wants to say something, and then I will talk after Anup.
We had started auditioning the film. We were looking at actors almost in the whole of North India. And we were also looking at the locations at that point. So once I was on a recce in the desert of Jaisalmer, and it was very early in the morning. I was high on a dune, and it was just an amazing piece of luck. I saw a gazelle. This gazelle must have been born just a few hours ago.
Yeah.
And I saw it tumble out of some bushes.
Hmm.
And it stood there, and then it moved a little as though trying to get a balance on its legs. And then it started, running around, all right, just in circles. It just kept running around in circles. And then it stopped again. It went into a complete stillness. Only its head was moving, very, very subtly, very gently. All right, this is early morning. And then it leapt, it jumped, and it fled away into the desert. Then when I met Golshifteh at this film festival that she just spoke about, I think that is one of the first things that struck me about her. Not in terms of a physicality,
Yeah.
but in terms of
Yeah,
the spirit that she carries.
Yes.
There is something about her which is like a gazelle inside.
It's
She
pure.
stumbles, she jumps, she runs. You know her.
Yeah.
But there are moments when she goes absolutely still. And that stillness is when, for me, and in the film, is like when the whole cosmos stops.
No, that's a very incredible thing. And knowing Golshifteh for so long now also, because when she's frightened, she's at her strongest. And which is what is so
I think
incredible when you're. Hey,
I
please
think
go
it's
ahead.
also I think it's pain and survival. I think it's that basic caveman surviving mood. And also sometimes pain can be that. That's why pain has two sides. Pain can kill and pain can heal. It's that moment of jumping and dying or flying. So you're just standing there, and I think when sometimes you're in pain and you're just being eaten by the pain, but you're not alert, you don't, the pain finally pushes you to an edge until I think the second part of the movie, when the grandmother dies and everything goes wrong, it's that the pain is pushing her, but until she reaches the edge where Shashank comes and he tells her the truth, and this is where she's standing in front of the cliff, and in that moment everyone is still, because you are really before making a decision that is gonna change your life. And that is where she decides to kill, she decides revenge, and this is where the pain transforms her, like the scorpion. Scorpion has that quality, even the month of Scorpion, the poison can heal, the poison can kill. So she chooses to kill. And that's why she becomes like this, there is something in her eyes that is a bit like the scorpion. She becomes that scorpion until the time where the same poison can turn into a remedy. And then that becomes, that darkness suddenly switches into light. And it's just, I always say, if you are this much into darkness, if you reverse it, you go this much into light. If you're this much into darkness, you go this much into light. So when you are deep, deep, deep in the darkness, like that black sheep Jesus and talks about, if you switch and you go up, then you can go very much higher. All the deepest valleys, they have the highest mountains. So yes, the further back in darkness you go, the further out in the light you can come. So it's sometimes, I always think it's a chance, people that they grieve so hard, or they go in the darkness so badly that they are at the rock bottom, they have the chance, because it's like an elastic thing. The more you pull it, and when you release it, if you release it, some people, they love it just to be in that tension of just being pulled and never being released. But in that moment, when you decide to be released, then you go very, very far. And she manages, she managed to go and become the song in the desert.
That's an incredible way of like putting it together. You know, there are these moments in the film that stay with me, and that stayed with me the first time, and that also stayed with me. They just stay with me now. There's this moment where Irfan, when he goes, I'm being a widower, and that's when I discover in the film that he's a widower. And he goes to the town, not in the village, in the town, and it's playing with his children. And he said, let's play a game. And he goes and hides behind the quilts. And he hides, and the kids don't come looking for him. And then he peeps up, and they still don't come. And then he realizes they've started playing their own game just by the sound. And you stay on him. And then there is suddenly, he sits down and he comes to a decision, which we never find out till much later, that how evil that turned out to be. So can you talk about that scene? I think it was one of the most incredible scenes that I saw that stayed with me.
Anurag, I think there is something as a seed in the film, which I was trying to share with everyone, with Saskia, with Golshifteh, with Irfan. And that was a very simple thought. And I think this thought helped us a lot. And the thought was this, that almost on a daily basis, we, all of us, are breathing in the air which is around us. And this air is full of pollution. In our time, it is full of corruption, it is full of violence, But this air is also something that gives us life. We breathe all this horrible things into us, but we're also breathing in life simultaneously. And I think now when we breathe out, I think we have a choice. The choice is, do we want to breathe out the same violence that we have breathed in, or do we choose to breathe out a song? And I think that is really the thing that Nuran's grandmother in the film played by Vaidaji, that is one of the principles that she is carrying, and that is the principle that she wants constantly to share with Golshifteh. And in time, Golshifteh's character in the film, Nuran, really internalizes that. And she can, no matter all the poison that she has had to drink, she will breathe out a song. Unfortunately, in the case of the man, surrounded as he is, not only by the poison around him, and his inability to see, the joy that small things in life can be, like children, like his daughter. He has not had the gift, if you like, of being able to breathe out something other than violence.
Yeah.
And in the film, I'm trying to show that perhaps it is a certain state of being that we as men have denied ourselves. That perhaps we have listened to our grandmothers as carefully as we have listened to our grandfathers.
Yeah. And there's also this moment with Golshifteh, like after she gets violated with Shashank and she comes home and her friend has brought the food, and there's this, you stay with her till she goes and she finds the food and she eats it, and then she opens the door for the friend. That's another scene that just stays with you. There's almost like, and this is true to the entire film. If I look at the entire film, every single shot is revelatory. In the sense, every single shot is designed like a suspense thing. You don't know what it is going to reveal as the camera is moving. And every shot starts to reveal something and starts to put things in perspective. Every single motion, every single thought, idea. It's almost like you're watching a Hitchcockian kind of a drama, which is not really Hitchcockian. But that whole sequence, staying with her, it needs a lot of courage from a filmmaker that I'm going to stay that long with her till she comes to a decision that I'm going to go out and open this door. I'm saying I want to talk to both of you. Talk about that sequence, please, because that sequence really for me is one of the key turning points where really something begins. Golshifteh.
Okay. I think we all have those. I think all the humans at one point in their life, they have experienced those doors. The doors you need to close, and the doors you need to go and hide. Doors that you go to cry, to die, to every moment you ask yourself, why are you alive? What happened? Why this has happened? All those questions, you just roll and roll in pain and darkness, and it is somehow necessary, that grieving time, to somehow allows you to come out. And it's funny that there's also something with food. Either you lock yourself in and eat, either you lock yourself in and you don't eat. So there's something also related very much to food, to nutrition, to basically this life you put inside you, and either you block it, either you commit suicide with it because you can't take it. And it's funny, whenever I think of Song of Scorpion, it's that scene that comes to me when I saw it. This is what I remember. It's very right that it's a scene that I don't know what is it. It's the camera, it's the house, or it's us. There's something that really, and this rhythm that is just being expanded like an elastic, non-ending, and finally it comes to this food and opening the gate, somehow wanting to live, somehow stepping into the desire of coming out of the pain, at least trying, and that moment is really, for me, is always a glorious moment. And Anup Ji is the master of creating these moments that
it's incredible, because it always feels like the camera is there only to follow Nuran, and it's not kind of it's not interrupting me. It's just watching you and moving with you, so that I can get them, like I can actually feel things that you're feeling, that uncertainty, that pain, that confusion, what to do, what not to do. And the amazing thing is the director having the courage to let it take its time. It never seems, that's one sequence that did not seem like it's been designed, or you're looking at your clock, let's get to the door, none of those things. And that's what, for me, makes it so much more powerful. Because when she suddenly opens the door, I feel like, okay, she made up her mind that she's going to step out of it and do something about something, which I don't know till she asks about her mother.
Anurag, also the desert is very important. And I think, there's something about choosing the desert and taking Golshifteh and Irfan into that desert. It is that when you look at the desert, it is a very strange place. It is very demanding. It can burn you, However, out of this desert, as you know, we also have all our kissas. We have all these love legends. We have prophets who have gone into this desert, who have gone in a way ready to meet God face to face, or to meet death. And in the secret of this desert somewhere, there's also water. And I think each one of us makes that journey inside ourselves at some point or another, that we enter that desert and we either burn, like lovers, and for us, that's also a joy, or we will find the water that will give us life again. It is what we choose. And I think the different characters in the film make different choices about what they will do when they find themselves in that desert. The character of Irfan makes certain choices. And of course, the character of Nuran makes different choices. And that really is, for me, what the film is trying all the time to talk about. Do we burn ourselves and do we burn the world around us? Or do we come back with the water?
The most surprised I was, because, most surprised in the film, I was like, when the simplest choice that Nuran makes in the film is when she decides to marry Irfan on the basis that, will you help me find your mother? That's the simplest one-note choice that she makes. Because every other choices made in the film has so much complexity and layers to it. I'm saying from there on, when there's another scene that follows much later in the film, where I started feeling that sense of kind of there's a sense of foreboding, and there's a sense of something tragic is going to happen. When he tells her that I will not touch you without your consent, and then gives her the knife, that if I do, and I in my head feel that knife is going to be used. I know for a fact that that knife is going to be used. And that foreboding is what drives everything forward. She doesn't, really. And then he goes to start, it's almost like he had a evil moment. He's not an evil man. He loved this woman. He felt humiliation. he wanted to be rid of her. He had this whole evil moment, which was much larger than a moment, because he's also standing outside the house and watching her humiliation. And then he gets to her and she comes into his life, and then suddenly it's like, almost like he's wanting to undo everything. So which is why he gives her that knife and then goes to his friend and puts that scorpion in there. But things have changed by the time he's come back and meets her. She's there to receive his, she wants to make love to him. She wants to have his child. And then I don't know what is going on in her head, because I'm so scared, because the way she's looking at him. Just the way she's looking at him. I'm saying the way everything is done in the film. So that's what I want to talk about. This is, what is in your head? Describe how you were thinking, because every character is so humane and every character is so inwards. But the emotions are so strong that they will carry whatever they're feeling right till the end.
I think it's the torment of our time, Anurag, really. We talk about it, we are on social media, you know, and we exteriorize it as much as we can. But I think deep down, all of us are wounded, you know, and these wounds are really bleeding by everything that is happening around us. How do we come to terms with this, you know? And I wanted to look at this in the film and ask myself, there are various ways of me personally living this torment, living this violence. How do I do it? I can do this. I can avenge myself, you know, in whatever small ways. I can torment other people, you know, or I can bring a healing. And in the film, I wanted to deal with all these moments one by one, you know, and to see what kind of choices that people make. At the same time, they don't lose their humanity.
Yeah.
You know? And I wanted to really, really keep that, and that was the reason why I had to cast an actor like Irfan, you know, or I had to cast Golshifteh or Vedaji, for example.
Which is why that last line, you know, when he says like he doesn't want don't tell the child about the father,
Yes.
about me.
Yes.
No, that really kind of hits you, because the man knows he's lost everything, including himself, and he says that.
Yeah.
And is almost wanting to redeem himself by not existing for the child.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a great gift whenever we have the chance to redeem ourselves, when we allow ourselves to redeem ourselves. It doesn't happen very often in the world that we are living in this moment, where people actually seek redemption, you know. And certainly in politics, we see that today, that there is no sense of seeking a redemption. There's always a sense of vengeance, you know. And I'm sorry that I hope, you know, every filmmaker hopes, but we know that this is just a hope, but we make films because of this hope. I hope that the song will reach out and at least for a moment bring a little healing to the world that we are in today.
No, and I think, I don't know how much does Golshifteh know about Wahida ji's and who she is to all of us Indians.
Oh, I do. I did all my research. Yes,
Did you see the film? Like,
is the big G, Wahida ji. Wahida ji is, yeah. And the funny thing is, all of you, you know a Wahida ji that you know, but I met a Wahida ji that I met. So for me, one time we were having a dinner in this hotel in Jaisalmer, and I just looked at her and I couldn't believe this woman in this age. She was looking so elegant, sexy, young, and like she was this bird, really, that was there, and I was just looking at her face in candlelight, and at that point I understood, wow, now I know why she is the Vaidaji of India, which is people, they really bow, and they not only bow, they go on the ground in front of her. And what an honor to work with her, really. I was the luckiest person, I think, in this project, to be able to work with Anup, this poet that he is, Irfan, that, I mean, the fact that he's gone is one of the biggest losses of my life. And Vaidaji, which is incredible, exceptional woman. And of course, Saskia and everyone else, all the women.
Have you seen any of Vaidaji's old movie? Have you seen her dance? She was one of the most incredible dancers.
Gaid.
Yeah. She was a classical dancer when she was discovered by Gurudutt, who we all love so much.
But very elegant. Like her movements is as if it's a little bit like Armenian or Georgian. It's a little bit of it's coming from another place. It's not only Indian. She has this other thing in her. It's her essence, which makes it so unique and exceptional.
It's something I have to describe, Anurag, and this is a meeting while we were shooting between Golshifteh and Vaidaji. All right. Whenever Vaidaji comes on the set, there is, of course, something very, very special about how she comes on the set.
Yeah,
she looks at everyone.
Yeah.
She just looks at everyone, and everyone feels her gaze on them. It's almost like a blessing. All right. And then when she comes, she's ready to shoot. She comes well prepared. She's in costume. She has her makeup on. She's ready. Okay. Then Golshifteh comes, and Golshifteh is like this tornado that comes onto the set. All right. So it's not her gaze, but it's her arms on somebody, her hand on somebody else. She dances from one side to another. And then she sees Vaidaji. And then when she sees Vaidaji, you can hear her from miles away. Vaidaji! And she goes running. She actually goes running. And when she embraces her, I really think that poor old woman is going to tumble into the dunes. She embraces her with such force. And you can't imagine the joy, the real joy on Vaidaji's face. Whenever she,
that's how Golshifteh is.
Yes, indeed. So this was really their meeting almost every other day when they were shooting.
Saskia, what are the more plans for the movie? I'm dying to what you said. It's great news that it's coming to India and things. And what are more plans in the sense? What are you working on? Is Anup making another film? Are you producing it for him? Because I can tell you one secret that me and Anup met more than 20 years ago. I was the writer and he was the director We started working on a script that never got made.
So it's waiting.
That's a secret. And I was a young, in my early 20s writer, and Anup was trying to make his first film.
In it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I think this could be a good combination, the four of us.
Yeah, I'm just giving it to you. Hint.
Yes.
It's still not made. Nobody has touched upon it.
No, Anup is always writing, and he's got several projects in different directions. And what we're doing now with the Song of Scorpions, it's one of these like slow, everlasting movies, And even though the world premiere was in 2017, it's still in festivals like IFFSA. It's great. We're very honored to be sort of showing in this virtual version of the edition of the festival. So thanks to the festival there. And we're looking at a release in India, which, unofficial. It's not an official announcement, but we are sort of working towards something happening this year, and France as well. So these are two major territories that are, close to our hearts for different reasons. And also people who love Golshifteh, who love Irfan, and who love this sort of poetic cinema. So I hope we can make some official announcements soon.
No, sure. You want to bring the film to India? You want any help from me? I'm there. Totally there.
Anurag,
you,
that's
Anurag.
great.
Yeah. And another very great aspect of the film, which is also like so much part of both Golshifteh's life, which is music, and Anup, your life. The music of the film, it's just so incredible, and the voices that are used. This is just so incredible. I just want to talk about the music before we end this session. This music and cinematography of the film are like two such standout aspects as well. So talk about the music and the singing, and it was amazing to see Golshifteh humming and like getting it just right. In the sense, I could catch only one place where "b" became "ch." So only one place. Only one place. This is amazing. I've done film as an actor in a different language, and I can spot more mistakes in myself than I've done in you.
I still remember the songs.
Yeah. Would love to hear it. You want to sing it?
Ladorani, orani, ladorani marito, pichuria ke chane chane, chane chane.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, music is really, I think, also part of the spirit of the film in the sense that, like the desert, again, with the music, I wanted my audience, and in this case, I must say the audience, not only in India, but my audience everywhere, to become aware of something. And that is to realize that no matter what we think is our music, this music is always a music that has come from journeys. This music is always that has come from travels, and especially in the desert, it gave me a chance to do just that. So when you listen to the melodies, which is something that Madan Gopal Singh, who wrote the lyrics, as well as composed the melodies for the song, he and I, we've worked together for a very long time now, and on this film we really wanted to come together because we both believe in this idea of journeys. So if you listen to the melodies really for what they are, you will realize that, okay, this is Sindhi. Of course, the community that the film is set in is a Sindhi community. But this is a Sindhi which has something of Afghanistan in it, Strangely, there's something of China in it. And I've seen this while taking the film around the world, showing it to different audiences. I have people come up to me and say, we have this melody in Kazakhstan. We have this melody in Russia.
Is a melody also that I've heard in a Kusturica film, and also it's the people who, the nomads, is what they call who travel down from Romania through Iran, through Iraq, to India, and further.
Indeed. And I wanted to celebrate that. I wanted to celebrate this great culture that we have in India, which is really a culture of journeys. It's a multiple identity. We don't have a single identity. If we look at our art, if we look at our music, even our classical music, we look at our dance, we look at the way we speak, even some of the words that we speak, they belong to a vast region, So in a time when we are being told what our identity is, the music for me was very important to say, listen to us, listen to our own culture, just listen carefully and you will see that we are multiple.
Like the song of the gypsies, the gypsies tell the tales. But it's been so nice talking to you. I really genuinely feel that this film carries so much more of India than most films we make here. And I really want Indian people to see the film. Also want Indian audience to discover Golshifteh and ask who's that girl. So I'm thank you so
And
much.
thank you, Anurag. Why aren't you not a journalist? I mean, such amazing. Wow, you like.
I'm just a
thank you,
cinephile.
Anurag. Really, it was so beautiful. But everything you said, I think you were really inspiring. Thank you.